Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have an exciting show for you tonight. Mr. Tim Pate's here. Hey, Tim.
Hello.
And we have a long segment on hemp news. We have some film clips we'll be rolling, and we'll be taking your phone calls here. So stay tuned, and then we're going to buy ourselves a few crucial seconds. Out our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Testing.
Okay, our first story tonight with our hemp news segment is from today's edition of Business Week magazine. It is July 16th, 2010. This is written by Christopher Palmieri and Michael Morose. From California, here's a sure sign that marijuana dispensaries are on their way to becoming big business. On July 13th, the City Council of Berkeley, California asked voters to approve a 2.5% tax on the city's marijuana outlets, 3 of which grossed a total of $19 million last year, all cash. According to Mayor Tom Bates, quote, "This is huge. The tax will not only help close a $16.2 million budget gap, but it's also make sure that as the sale of cannabis goes mass market, the local community benefits, not outside business interests. We don't want Philip Morris coming in here and sucking up all the money," end quote, said Mayor Bates of Berkeley. Taxing cannabis sales is a growing trend across the nation as physically challenged cities eye the public's budding acceptance of cannabis use. Denver's generated $1.2 million since December, when the city began collecting sales tax from its 256 dispensaries. On June 15th, Washington, D.C. approved a 6% tax on what will eventually be 5 dispensaries. 18 states now have laws allowing marijuana use for medical purposes. Nowhere is the revenue opportunity as large as in California. Therapeutic marijuana was originally intended to relieve cancer and AIDS patients' pain and nausea. California now allows it for insomnia, appetite loss, or any condition a licensed physician thinks marijuana would ease. The Board of Equalization, a taxing body which supervises tax collection in the state, estimated in October that fully legalized cannabis consumption could generate $1.4 billion a year just in state and local taxes. On the same night that Berkeley officials acted, the Sacramento City Council passed a similar measure, and the city of Long Beach adopted one on July 6th. More California communities may follow if California voters approve a ballot initiative in November that would make it legal to possess an ounce or less of marijuana for recreational use and cultivate a small garden. That measure, known as Proposition 19, allows cities to regulate and tax recreational uses of marijuana. Recent polls suggested voters are evenly divided in their support for it, although Senator Dianne Feinstein on July 12th this week said she would oppose the measure. If the initiative passes, marijuana advocates and researchers describe a scenario in which drug tourism floods the state, resulting in tasting rooms and specialized bed and breakfasts in the Northern California communities of Mendocino and Humboldt, where the plant's derived. That's an excerpt from a story in today's edition of Business Week. Our next story is from yesterday's Los Angeles Times, written by John Hoffel out of Los Angeles. Proponents of marijuana legalization and an initiative on November ballot won the endorsement Wednesday of a council that oversees the political work of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union in California, as well as one of the union's major locals, giving proponents a significant boost to their campaign. They also had hoped to win the endorsement of the California Labor Federation, which met this week in San Diego, but decided not to press for a vote and settled instead on persuading the powerful organization to remain neutral, which it did. Dan Rush, who works for Proposition 19 in California and oversees special operations for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union Local Number 5, had pushed efforts to gain support for the measure. He said, quote, "Obviously, I would like to have had a full endorsement," end quote. But he noted that the neutral stance means that 1,200 member unions, separate unions, are now free to endorse the initiative and contribute money and campaign volunteers. According to Dan Rush, quote, "I'm expecting to garner the endorsement of most of the major unions in California over the next several weeks. Proposition 19 would also allow adults 21 and older to possess, grow, and transport marijuana, and it would allow cities and counties to regulate and tax commercial sales. It would also allow the production of hemp, which union leaders believe could generate thousands of agricultural jobs." And that's the end of an excerpt from the Los Angeles Times story on July 15th. Our next story is from the Salem Statesman Journal, written by Peter Wong. Obtaining an Oregon medical marijuana card no longer will be limited to Oregon residents. Current administrative rules require applicants to show Oregon identification and proof of residency. But as part of the review of otherwise routine changes proposed in the rules, the Department of Justice has advised the Department of Human Services that the 1998 law authorizing medical marijuana is not limited to Oregon residents. A new temporary rule at the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program Office will allow the program to accept a driver's license, government-issued identification card, U.S. passport, or military identification for a permit from any state in the United States. The other rule changes, including what's considered acceptable documentation, will be heard on 11 a.m. July 30th in Conference Room 1A here in Oregon at the Oregon Building at 800 Northeast Oregon Street near the Lloyd Center Mall. As of April, there were 36,380 card holders here in Oregon with a medical marijuana permit. A card authorizes a patient or a designated caregiver to grow a specified amount of marijuana and possess it for medical use. Doctors must approve the underlying condition specified in the law for which medical use is sought. Out of New York, experienced marijuana consumers exhibit nominal changes in cognitive performance after inhaling cannabis, according to clinical trial data published online this week in the journal Pharmacology, Biochemistry, and Behavior. Investigators at Columbia University in New York and the San Francisco Brain Research Institute assessed acute marijuana-related effects on cognitive functioning in 24 volunteers who reported consuming the drug at least 24 times per week. Researchers determined that participants' overall performance accuracy on episodic memory and working memory tasks, quote, was not significantly altered by marijuana, end quote. The authors concluded, quote, the present findings show that marijuana, when smoked, produces minimal effects on episodic and spatial working memory of near daily marijuana smokers. The overall response accuracy on the word recognition and working memory tasks also was unaffected, although smoked marijuana did increase the amount of time participants needed to complete the task. This pattern of effects is consistent with results previously reported by other researchers studying the acute effects of marijuana on cognitive performance of regular users. The finding stands in contrast to previous findings in occasional smokers which showed reduced accuracy on the same task after the use of cannabis. The observation that frequent users' response accuracy is not altered after marijuana smoking to the same extent it is in infrequent users suggests that near daily marijuana smokers have developed a tolerance to some marijuana-related effects, end quote. The full study, in the text of it's available. Its name is Neurophysiological and Cognitive Effects of Smoked Marijuana in Frequent Users, and it'll appear in the journal Pharmacology, Biochemistry, and Behavior. There's another story out about cannabidiol, CBD in cannabis, out of Brooklyn, and it increases neurogenesis, or active production of new neurons in the brain in laboratory animals, according to preclinical data published online in the journal Cell Communication and Signaling. An international team of researchers from Germany, Switzerland, and Mexico assessed the effects of chronic administration of THC and CBD on spatial learning, memory, and neurogenesis. The authors reported, quote, THC and CBD differed in their effects on spatial learning and adult neurogenesis. CBD did not impair learning but increased adult neurogenesis, whereas THC reduced learning without affecting adult neurogenesis. They concluded the pro-neurogenic effects of CBD might explain some of the positive therapeutic features of CBD-based compounds. Taken together, the findings suggest diverse effects of the cannabinoid system on memory and cellular plasticity. End quote. The full text of this study, cannabinoid receptor CB1 mediates baseline and activity-induced survival of new neurons in adult hippocampal neurogenesis, end quote, is available online at biosignaling.com. That's biosignaling.com. Out of Syracuse, New York. The administration of plant cannabinoids, delta-8 THC and delta-9 THC, inhibit cellular respiration and tumoral growth in human oral cancer cells, according to preclinical trial data published in the June issue of the journal Pharmacology. Investigators at the State University of New York, or SUNY, Upstate Medical University in Syracuse assessed the anti-cancer properties of delta-8 THC and delta-9 THC in human oral cancer cell lines, which is highly resistant to conventional anti-cancer drugs. The researchers reported that the administration of THC resulted in a, quote, rapid decline in cellular respiration in malignant cells. By contrast, investigators found that the administration of endogenous cannabinoid anandamide, which is produced by the neurosystem, was ineffective as an anti-cancer agent. They said, quote, these results show that cannabinoids are potent inhibitors of cellular respiration in cancer cells and are toxic to this highly malignant tumor, end quote, researchers concluded. Last year, investigators from Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, reported that the moderate long-term use of marijuana in humans, quote, was associated with a significantly reduced risk of head and neck squamous cell carcinoma, end quote. A 2008 scientific review published in the journal Cancer Research previously reported that cannabinoids inhibit the proliferation of a wide range of cancers, including brain cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, skin cancer, pancreatic cancer, and lymphoma. Full text of this study, Cannabinoids Inhibit Cellular Respiration of Human Oral Cancer Cells, appears in the journal Pharmacology this month, July 2010. Well, that is the end of a lengthy hemp news segment. We're back from a hiatus. Our TV studio is back online here, and we're going to cut over to Tim Pate. How are you doing, Tim?
You know, Paul, I am doing well, but I was sitting here, I was just mesmerized by all that news that you had.
There's a lot of medical news out there.
One piece about cancer after another, after another, after another, and each study was in a positive, you know.
Yeah,
with the
and about how cannabis doesn't affect cognition and memory in
it's amazing.
Long-term users.
And you know,
users.
week after week we've been reporting it on the show, but
right.
I'm just stunned. I'm stunned. I'm constantly stunned by the positive news that comes out, and the fact that we still have to fight to make this legal.
It's amazing that they can take something that's so beneficial that actually has been shown to increase longevity. You'll live longer. You know, when Jack Herer first said that, I thought, what has he been smoking today?
Yes.
But it turns out he was right.
Yes, and it worked on his brain in a positive way, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It really does kill cancer cells and protects your brain in trauma. It's really amazing stuff.
Well, like they were talking about the cancer cells, the oral cancer cells. You know, it's like one of the most effective uses and you know, deterrents. So I'm impressed by that.
Yeah, and for brain cancers and other cancers that have no cure. Well, you know, there's that guy, Rick Simpson, out there who's got his videos on YouTube, Run for the Cure. He's a Canadian guy up in Nova Scotia who had stage 4 cancer.
Yes.
And he found using a high cannabis content oil extract caused him to, you know, his cancer to reverse. And now he's still alive and going strong. And thousands of stage 4 and stage 5 cancer patients who doctors had given weeks or months to live now find their cancer's in recession and they're able to live and have a good quality of life. And that's just one disease. It affects so many different diseases and helps restore homeostasis or balance among all the different, you know, body systems. You know, it's just a real honor to be able to to be here and to represent something that's so righteous.
I know, I agree. It's important.
Yeah.
It's important. And the news is important. This is important news to me. It's like, why isn't this on the evening news?
Yeah.
You know, why isn't this on the evening news?
Or at least in the newspapers.
Yeah. You know, and I know that we've, you know, rather than go down a whole list of friends that we've lost here recently, because we have lost some serious good friends to the hemp movement. You know that. So
We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Anyway, I'm playing this song for those of us who are left behind, you know, because we definitely have lost some friends this year. When peace like a river attends my soul, when sorrows like sea billows roll, there's peace at hand. I need to know that all is well. Well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when trouble comes, the clouds blow black as a storm. Well, I still need to know, is peace at hand? I need to know that all is well. Well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. Thank you.
Mr. Tim Pate. Hey, we are now accepting your phone calls. You can give us a call anywhere out there by dialing 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And we'll be taking your phone calls right up to the top of the hour. So, yeah, that was a great song there, Tim. So,
thank you.
Yeah, we've had a lot of news over the past week. One of the things that happened is a real good friend of mine, Roger Christie, from the Big Island of Hawaii in Hilo, was arrested last week for growing marijuana. He founded a church many years ago,
Yes, I did.
the THC Ministry, based in Hilo, that has adherents all over the country. I went there and he actually anointed Dr. Orvald and I there in Hilo.
Nice.
With holy oil, the same that was used. A lot of people don't know that the holy anointing oil in the Bible actually was a strong cannabis preparation. And it's something that I think it was like 3 quarts had several pounds of marijuana in it is the actual recipe if you figure it all out. Anyway, so yeah, Christ actually means anointed one, and they're talking about anointing with an oil that one of the primary components was cannabis and cinnamon and some other things.
You know, I went to preaching school.
Yeah, I know that.
And I was a minister with the Church of Christ for 8 years full time.
I remember that.
And nobody in my brotherhood ever told me that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely, it's for me
astounding.
at this stage in my life, it's like, why didn't anybody ever say that back then? That would have changed things. I think they were afraid.
We have a phone call that's been standing by. Welcome to our show.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
I'm great. First of all, you do a great job reading the news with all those tongue-twisting words.
Oh, they were.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Paul, I'm wondering
Been
if
around
you could
medicine.
just discuss a little bit about vaporizers and why they're better and how they're different than, say, like a water pipe.
Yeah, well, they are a lot different. What happens in water pipes or joints or bowls is the marijuana is burned. And when it's burned, you get a lot of combustion byproducts. And actually, when you inhale smoked marijuana, it is only about 10 to 11% actually the active medicinal compounds or psychoactive compounds. And so when you use a vaporizer, all of it everything you inhale are very powerful antioxidants. And so with a vaporizer, what you get, according to a study out of Cambridge University back about 5 years ago, using a volcano vaporizer, they found that the vapor created was 96% THC, 2% CBD, and 1% each of aromatic hydrocarbons, also known as terpenes. And so all of those things are very potent antioxidants that fight cancer and don't have any harmful side effects. And in fact, if you use a water pipe or a pipe that's glass or something, you will notice after 1 or 2 inhalations or bowls full in your pipe, the pipe starts to turn brown and black and everything. Well, with a vaporizer, using a volcano vaporizer in a bag, I've used for several thousand bags full, and it never turns black. It's just a lot healthier way to do it. You don't have the coughing. It also doesn't smell like smoked marijuana. It smells like the fresh flowers of marijuana. And I had been a connoisseur smoker, I'd like to consider myself there, for 30 years until about 8 years ago. And I, since then, just used a vaporizer. And after about a year, smoke doesn't taste good to me anymore. And I really can't tell the differences between various cannabises the way I used to. What I really taste are the byproducts of combustion. So when I use a vaporizer, I don't get that. It's a lot better tasting. You don't have coughing. The smell also dissipates much more quickly, and it's not as strong with the vaporizer. So it has a lot of health benefits in terms of less harm to your lungs and your bronchial passageways and lung sacs and those things.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That's been very informative.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Oh, you guys do a great job. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If you have a question for us, feel free to give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448.
I'd like to talk about Seattle Hemp Fest.
Please.
I was up at a core staff meeting this last Tuesday, and we have just, for those of you who do not know and who are planning to go up, and we're planning on a 3-day event this year, we decided to capitulate with the city. And
The city
both of us,
wouldn't allow that this year.
well, there was we were going to have to get into a long battle and draw it out, and it wasn't going to be advantageous, to having a good show if we did that. So we're going to go to 2 days, so Saturday and Sunday, again, like we have for the last decade. But hopefully next year we'll go to 3 days. That's what I'm hoping. But when you come out, there will be a lot of people, so make plans accordingly. And if you don't have your hotel rooms yet, I really do suggest you get them soon.
For those of you who don't know, the Seattle Hemp Fest is the world's largest cannabis event, and it happens, what are the dates in August?
20th and 21st.
20th and 21st of August.
Of
And there's 500,000 people there over the 2-day event. It's amazing. I know one day last year there were 350,000 people in this park that's about 1.25 miles long and about
bigger
300
this year.
yards wide.
We got more of the park this year.
Oh, it keeps expanding year
Yes,
after year.
I know that.
It's a long walk
I know
from
that.
one end of the park back.
I just found out today too. I'll be opening main stage again both days, and we'll
Congratulations.
be closing, and we're working on. I'll have an hour on the Sealy stage way at the other end. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to work my way through that long crowd and give away all the grand prizes, because we have some wonderful grand prizes this year for Seattle Hemp Fest. So, in fact, the best grand prizes I can honestly say we've ever given away. So I'm very thrilled about the prospects. And then right after that, we've got Hempstock coming here in Portland.
That's right. In conjunction with the National Normal Convention, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws has their conference here.
Yes, they do.
At the Governor Hotel in downtown
Very
Portland
exciting.
on September 9th, 10th, and 11th. There'll be over 1,000 marijuana activists from around the world, and probably another 1,000 from here in Oregon. And we expect there'll be a lot of traffic back and forth, because the Portland Hempstock Festival concludes with the last day of the Normal Convention. So the Normal Convention is September 9th, 10th, and 11th, and our Hempstock Festival at Kelly Point Park, the confluence of the Willamette and Columbia Rivers, far out on the west end of Marine Drive, will be on September 11th and 12th.
Sacred hemp ground now.
Yeah,
as far as
now
we're
the
concerned.
Jack Herer fell there last year on September 12th. The Emperor of Hemp, really, video named him that was produced by Anita Roderick of The Body Shop, who's also passed on. But yeah, we'll talk more about that. We have a phone call. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hi, this is Chris from Saginaw, Michigan.
Hello, Chris.
I have a question tonight about breeding seeds. I made my own seeds, and I was wondering how long do they have to dry or cure or whatnot to be plantable again? And I also had another question about hepatitis C being a qualifying condition for Michigan. Do you still need 3 chart notes if you have one that says they are Hep C positive?
No, if you've got a test like that, I think at least in the clinics I know about, including the THCF one there in Southfield and also near Detroit, and our doctor, we see people there in Saginaw and Flint, as you may know, in Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo and a bunch of other cities. I won't name them all, but with hepatitis C, what you need somewhere in your chart note is notes of nausea or pain, or both of those. And nausea qualifies as a qualifying condition on its own, and chronic pain, of course, is a qualifying condition. Now, in some states, hepatitis C in and of itself is a qualifying condition, and I know there are moves in the state of Michigan to add it to the list of qualifying conditions there, because by using cannabis, you're able to put off the onset of those symptoms of the deterioration of your liver that happens with hepatitis. And so by using cannabis, you're able to keep your appetite up and relieve the pain that allows you to keep functioning and eating and keeping your liver healthier longer and fighting off the Hep C virus. But in terms of the seed production, you asked about how long they should dry. Generally, you know, sometimes they're ready just a month or so after the plant's harvested. And so once they are dry and the outer coat is hard, then they're ready to germinate.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your call.
And good luck with those seeds.
And
Hope you had a good mix.
Yeah, things are booming in the state of Michigan. They're the program is only 1.5 years old now, and I think they're already up to about 20,000 cardholders.
Well, they had that many sick people there.
It's 10 million people in that state,
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
a
outside of
population.
California.
Yeah.
It's the largest medical marijuana state for population out of California.
Well,
we have a film clip, though, that we're going to roll now.
Oh, cool. Right on.
And so we'll be back in just a minute after this brief video interlude. That's it, interlude.
The 60s rising tide of social change eventually swept in and altered the course of Jack's life. In 1967, he and his wife divorced. One day, a couple of years later, a new girlfriend asked him a question.
She said, Jack, have you ever smoked marijuana? I said, of course not, no. I never smoked marijuana. She said, well, I think you should. I was feeling sensations that I didn't even know a human being could experience. And I said, why is this illegal? And she said, she doesn't know. I began to hear the protesters about the war in Vietnam, and their words had real meanings, textures. They weren't just talking about, I don't want to fight because I'm a coward, which is the way I thought of it in my ignorant or brutish way before.
Peace and freedom became big issues for Jack. So did the environment. But as the 70s began, the journey of Jack Herer from Goldwater Republican to Emperor of Hemp was only just beginning. Jack's transformation gained some momentum in 1973 when he satisfied a lifelong urge to write. He and a friend co-authored a little cartoon book about marijuana titled simply Grass. Much to his surprise, Grass became an underground hit, selling about 35,000 copies. Almost overnight, Jack gained a reputation as an authority on marijuana.
And now everybody thought I knew all about pot. I knew every little subtle thing. And I still didn't even know if I ran across a marijuana plant growing in a field, I wouldn't even recognize it.
And the grass, come sit with me in the grass.
Like millions of other Americans back then, Jack knew nothing of marijuana's history and had no idea that marijuana was actually hemp, the non-intoxicating but still very much illegal variety of the ancient Cannabis sativa plant. But as sales of his little grass book raised his profile, strangers began to come up to him with intriguing bits of information.
They come up to me and say, Mr. Herer, do you know that they used to make paper from marijuana? Some other kid would come up to me and say, do you know that they used to make all their sails and clothes out of marijuana?
The idea that it had other uses, that you could make paper out of it, that you could make cloth out of it, you could make cord out of it, you could make oil, you could make medicine. Those had never occurred to Jack, and boy, did he take that idea and run with it.
Jack was amazed to discover hemp's deep connection to mankind. For over 10,000 years, hemp was undeniably our most useful plant. Our ancestors depended on hemp's exceptionally strong fiber, cellulose-rich pulp, and highly nutritious seeds. The plant was cultivated and used throughout history for food, clothing, fuel and medicine, as well as for sails, rope, shelter, and paper. In colonial America, hemp was not only legal, but essential to survival.
Washington planted hemp at Mount Vernon in the 1790s while he was president in an attempt to start a home industry so that the United States would not have to depend on Italy and on Russia and on England for their hemp fiber. This was just after the Revolution, and the United States was trying madly not to have to rely on foreign countries for any products.
Armed with this new knowledge, Jack set out to persuade the marijuana reform movement to join.
All right.
We're back.
Yeah, you know, Washington actually cultivated cannabis from 1760 when it became the law. Anyone who had 40 acres or more of hemp had to cultivate 5 acres or 10% at least, 4 acres as a hemp crop as taxes. That was their tax to the crown. And the English used it for their sails, for the caulk between the boards of their ships, for their ropes, and it lasted 3 times longer than any other plant product. Cotton and other things would only last about 6 months out at sea, where hemp sails and ropes would last 1.5 years to 2 years. So,
it was Napoleon's downfall. He was trying to beat up the Russians in the steppes of the Ukraine because that's where they grew all their hemp. And if he got to that first, he could destroy the British's ability to restock all of their ships.
And that's what led to the War of 1812, where they invaded the United States to get hemp. But
he met his Waterloo.
He did, Napoleon.
Yes, he did.
If you're out there and you have a question or comment for us, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls for about another 20 minutes here or so, up to the top of the hour. We do have a caller standing by. Hello, caller. You're on our show.
Good evening, gentlemen. Pleasure to thank you for taking my call.
Sure, glad to do it. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, the Hemp Fest and Hemp Stock are going to be quite different this year without Jack. And
You're right.
I do wish to take this opportunity to pass along my my sympathies, condolences, and prayers to the family. And God bless Jack. And I think that movie that you just showed, part of that the movie that you just showed,
The Emperor of Hemp. That is a movie that was produced by Anita Roderick of the Body Shop chain that's all over the world from Britain, and she put up the money to do that. It's narrated by Peter Coyote, who narrates a lot of things on PBS, and it's gotten wide play on cable TV and on public access television stations as well.
And that's kind of why I called. I think that should be mandatory viewing for any elected official. That's the first thing they should do once they swear into office, is sit down and watch that, and watch it over and over again, so that they get the message that hemp is a plant. It is not a drug, as they say. It is medicine. Anyway, the reason I called...
You could probably get the Democrats and the Libertarians to do that, but I don't know about the Republicans. So. Anyway, go ahead.
Do like they did in Clockwork Orange.
Well, Jack had been a Republican before he started using cannabis.
I was too.
He was a Republican.
I grew up in Oklahoma.
I was never a Republican, but go ahead.
Yeah, the reason I called was it's very important. A program like this, produced through the facilities of Portland Community Media, going out on the airwaves of public access TV, and actually being viewed in a lot of spots across the nation, as I understand it, Paul.
Yeah, we send out these DVDs. Our webmaster Ico is copying it, and it's going to run
Detroit.
Yeah, Seattle,
Denver,
Detroit,
Boston,
Denver. In Denver,
Seattle,
it's
Spokane.
the #1 show, as it is one of the top shows here in Portland.
Yeah. And if I understand it
Boston.
right, you have it on the internet
Boston
too,
now.
right?
Excuse us?
You stream it on the internet too, right?
That's right. It streams live on Ustream. And it also is on YouTube. It'll be posted to YouTube by before this time tomorrow.
And so with all of that in mind, it is very important for anyone that watches this program to call their city, their officials, their cable access station, Cable Regulatory Commission, if they're lucky enough to have one.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, what you need is somebody in the local community who will sponsor it. And then they will go forward and say, I have these DVDs. You know, there are some systems, like in Eugene and Spokane we were on, and we were pretty popular, but they changed the rules on us and said, oh, you can only get shows produced in this city. Right. And so we can't run in Spokane and Eugene anymore.
I was wrong a few minutes ago. I said Spokane, so I didn't
realize
we
were used to be on in Spokane.
Yeah,
but we are on in Seattle and have been for quite a while.
And as Madeline Martinez would say, put the bong down, make the phone call, and support public access.
There you go.
And I thank you both very much for this program, and God bless Jack Harrer.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, and you're right. You know, this will be the first year I will have a grand prize that Jack isn't going to get the sign. He's right. You know, he will be missed. You're so right. You're so
We've got a number of items we're going to have at the Hemp Stock Festival this year. And you know what? I should take this moment to let you know that if you want to volunteer for our Hemp Stock Festival, we have a potluck. No pun intended, a potluck out at Kelly Point Park at noon this Sunday, July 18th. So if you're seeing the live version of the show, come on down to Kelly Point Park. You got to walk in about 1/8 of a mile past along the river till you get to the big open field down there, and that's where we have our Hemp Stock Festival, where Jack Herer gave his last speech last year on September 12th, just moments before having a heart attack that was eventually fatal. He died on April 15th, tax day. And we know that Jack was no big fan of the IRS.
No, he was not.
Neither am I, of
Well,
course.
okay.
But anyway.
Let's not antagonize the devil.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that. Anyway, if you want to come out to our potluck at Kelly Point Park, come on down at noon, high noon, this Sunday, July 18th. We're at the far west end of Marine Drive, just off about 4 or 5 miles off of Interstate 5.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great show. It's a beautiful location. We're going to take this location and we're going to make it our own over the next years. Just like we have done in Seattle since 1995, this will be in the same location 15 years. When we first started, we're getting 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 people.
And that was huge at the time.
And that was huge at the time, and now we're getting 500,000 plus for the weekend, and we know that is huge. And it's a matter of staying consistent. We can totally see us building up 3 and 5 more stages over there, and having all the booth people.
As
right
funding
now,
allows.
We'll have around 100 booths. Right this year, we have over 400 booths in Seattle. I can totally see us growing into the location we have, and assuming that we can stay in that location and everything goes
we are. In fact, we're the only people who do an event out there at all. You know, that park is outside, just used for picnics. And,
so we're going to have a great time.
We have a lot of good bands. We've got some returning people like John Trudell and his band Bad Dog. John Trudell, a Native American activist and personal hero of mine.
We're going to have a family reunion because Folk
that's right. The
and Mike and
sisters of sister and brother of Willie Nelson.
Yes.
A member of Folk Uke, along with Arlo Guthrie's daughter, Kathy Guthrie, and Willie Nelson's daughter, Amy Nelson. That's it. We'll have Lucas Nelson in another band. What's that band?
Well, Mike and Nelson is bringing his band to ours, and we're trying to get Lucas Nelson to come up to
for Seattle Hemp Fest.
It's a little confusing.
What's Micah Nelson's band?
Oh, hang on. I'll think of it.
Well, we also have
Casper
from Hopi from down in Arizona. That's a reggae band.
Human and the Human Revolution will be coming.
Human Revolution. Rocker Eye.
Rocker T will be coming.
Rocker T, he's coming back.
The Herbivores from Seattle.
And we had interest from Toots Hibbert of Toots and the Maytals, but he's not able to make that. But he is going to do a benefit concert for the Hempstock Festival and the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition in October and November. We're just nailing down those dates. We should know sometime in the next couple of weeks. But we'll have a benefit concert with the father of reggae. He invented the term reggae, Toots Hibbert of Toots and the Maytals. So that's exciting.
I'm very pleased to hear that he wants to help us. Yeah. That's a big thing. That is. Nice
Willie Nelson did an album with him, and he's done albums with lots of other people too. So, but I know Willie will be coming through town a week after our Hempstock Festival. He's booked down in L.A. for, he gets $100,000 a show, and he's got a whole road crew and people he keeps employed.
He gets to share $100,000 a show
with all of his
people.
crew and all of that.
The truth,
that's the amount his crew takes in.
So. Yeah, so if you want to have him, that's what it costs to bring him into town.
That's right.
No small matter.
It's pretty expensive to run all those people around and all those buses. We have another caller. Hello, caller. Welcome to our show.
Hi, I had a question regarding the Rick Simpson oil that you had mentioned. I've got a friend that was just diagnosed with liver cancer, and they kind of got him on a dead-end road deal where he's going to be doing chemotherapy until the day he passes. He'll be doing 3 days and then off for 2 weeks and then on for 3 days. And
he could definitely make use of cannabis as a therapy to help him and see how that would work. And if you look at YouTube and look up Run from the Cure or Rick Simpson, that's Simpson, then there are videos out there about how to make that oil and hundreds of testimonials from people who put with stage 4 and stage 5 cancers of various sort that it went into remission.
I kind of did a little bit of that, and it made mention that during chemotherapy itself that it was not recommended to do that during that time, and I didn't understand if that was during the 3 days where he was actually taking the treatments and you'd be allowed, or it'd be beneficial during the 2 week break in between, or
You know,
if
I'm
it
not
was
sure.
like
I'd have to take a look at that myself. I'm not. I know that most of the cancer patients I know find it's very useful during in terms of controlling nausea and pain during their chemotherapy, but that's usually inhaled and not in the doses that you'd get with Rick Simpson's oil, because you get a large amount of cannabis in that oil.
Right. You know, it would help us if you found the answer out and called us back at some point, quite frankly, because we don't know.
Yeah. We, you know, it's all anecdotal evidence from us. There should be more studies. You know, studies like that are not allowed much in the United States.
So there's no one personally that you might know or anything that had tried that and had results that were positive? Or
yeah, I've heard stories from dozens of people, that have used it and found it.
It's how to use it, what dosages and when. You know, during your therapy, your regimen, you want to use it. Those are your specific questions, and so you really need to get specific with some folks concerning, you know, that and the mix of chemotherapy at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the interactions with chemotherapy, so I don't want to speak to that.
Yeah, and the reason why with liver damage is because your immune system is so compromised that any type of toxin that is introduced that could
the liver has to process your entire blood system to
it's your filter.
Remove things. But anyway,
so going to the YouTube site and
you'll have a lot of anecdotal evidence there that will be able to help you get an answer that you're looking for.
You know, we read some stories here at the top of the hour, and those listed a number of different studies in universities throughout the world that talked about its anti-cancer effect. You might go and look up those, like in the journal Pharmacology. I remember that's where one of the stories was at, and another one from there were several of them.
There were several from
I
Pharmacology.
can't remember all the names of the journals off the top of my head. I don't have the stories right here in front of me.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And good luck. We wish your friend good health.
If you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. We'll be around for about another 10 minutes or so we'll be taking maybe one or two more calls. You know, you mentioned earlier that we lost a lot of people here recently. You know, one of my patients just passed away, Albert Sanasiban, a
friend of our
American.
show.
He came to our show. And
yes, he was.
First came in here as a cancer patient looking for excess medicine, so we helped him get that. So he just passed away a couple days ago. Then
Reverend Daniel Thompson.
Thompson, who just was at our last hemp stock volunteer meeting that we had just last month.
He was at our potluck.
He was
too. You know, so
yes. So there's so many of them
out
out there.
In other words, coming out until he could met his maker. He was with us. You know, and
just days before he had that fatal heart attack.
Yes.
But you know, we've got a lot of people who've come and gone, and we just hope most of you or all of you live to see marijuana legalization and the restoration of industrial hemp. We have another phone call. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Howdy.
My question is cannabis, or is it helpful to individuals that have bronchial asthma or emphysema?
I have bronchial asthma. I've had it my whole life. Spent many years of my younger years in the hospital with it. And it is one of my few remaining medicines right now. I use it as a bronchodilator. It's a good expectorant. It is absolutely wonderful, and it helps me relax. It relaxes my system and opens me up nicely. I find that vaporizing is very effective. I was a cigarette smoker for many years, and I'm happy to say that I haven't had a cigarette now in 135 days. So that also helps, not smoking cigarettes. Oh, stop it. You know, it's like when you always hurt the things that you're weakest with, and that's what I've done, is stub my toe, smoke cigarettes, or hurt my lungs. I'm an asthmatic. It's stupid, I know that. But anyway, I'm admitting to this on TV.
Well, you know, there are studies.
Yes, indeed, asthma is affected positively by the use of marijuana.
And there are studies that show that people who use tobacco and use cannabis have much lower likelihood of getting cancer, though smoking probably doesn't help the emphysema and the integrity of the air sacs in your lungs. But obviously vaporization would be a good alternative that eliminates all the byproducts of smoking tobacco or smoking cannabis as well. So,
well, I mean, I guess, does the cannabis itself help calm the lung down to keep from coughing?
Yes. I had a severe attack. I really had a severe attack this spring. And I went to the Cannabis Cafe while it was still open and sat there and vaporized that evening because I didn't have some of the other prescription medicines. Just for whatever reason, I didn't have them. They weren't effective. I sat there and vaporized that evening, and I tell you that saved my life that evening. I mean that. So,
what are you saying by saying vaporizing? I don't understand.
Vaporizing is a different. Well, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, it's an alternative to smoking where hot air is forced through cannabis and makes all the resin and plant oils turn to a vapor without burning the cannabis. And so then you inhale this vapor, and it doesn't have any of the smoke, any of the byproducts of combustion, but it basically takes all the oils and resins and turns them into a vapor in and of itself. And so it's a lot less harmful. Kind of like steam, but it's it's a little bit hotter. Where water boils at 210, cannabis and THC vaporize at about 350, 360. And so still well below the 450 plus degrees you need for combustion. And so
and less than you would be if you were smoking it or a joint or a pipe.
Yeah, it's a very healthy alternative to smoking. Also doesn't smell like smoking. You can vaporize tobacco. I know people who have. I vaporized peppermint, and you can vaporize other herbs as well. It's pretty common therapy in Germany.
But the reason I recommend this is because it's gentler on the lungs. If your lungs are compromised, and with an asthmatic, they are. You know that already. So it does with emphysema.
I was just wondering if it would help me because I am.
Yes, it will.
Well, you know,
I have COPD. Is what I have.
It'll help you.
Yeah, it definitely would.
Okay, and I'm still a heavy smoker. Smoking that's the hardest thing I've found to do in my life is to quit.
According to the Journal of American Medical Association, the easiest way to go about doing that is cold turkey, and the most successful. So that's what I did, and it worked for me.
Yeah,
it ain't easy though. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying cold turkey is the most relaxing. But I had good medibles. I had good medicine. I never was without good marijuana around me, and that sure made that transition a lot easier.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Well, you've answered my question, and I really appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you, and have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Good luck in your quest, man.
So, you know, we're getting ready to relaunch our Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition. We're looking at revisions of that right now. You can go out to cannabistaxact.org. That's cannabistaxact.org. Or to that web address. It's right there on your screen, hemp.org. You have to scroll down a little bit to get to the information on the new versions of the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. But if you're out there and you want to read through it, make any suggestions or have any ideas, feel free to use our volunteer form and let us know and email us in rapid order because we're getting ready to start the whole petition process and hope to have petitions out before the Christmas holidays.
So that begs the question that our attempt failed the first time through.
Yeah,
as they often do.
Yeah. Exactly.
But there is one measure that did make it to the ballot.
Down in California? Well, there's actually 4 measures that made it to the ballot this year. In South Dakota and Arizona, they're going to vote for medical marijuana.
Right on.
So both of those are very likely to pass. Then in California, perhaps the most exciting one, we have full legalization of up to 1 ounce of marijuana and allowing adults to possess marijuana. And then here in Oregon, today it was announced that I-28, the medical marijuana dispensary law, has made the ballot. And we'd like to say here that it hasn't been given a ballot measure number yet, but it will be given one by August 1st. It was the first initiative to qualify for the ballot this year. That was I-28, and it's the Regulated Medical Marijuana Dispensary Act or something like that. It's got a long name, but we'll have a ballot measure number. And I'd like to say the Cannabis Common Sense, this TV show endorses the Medical Marijuana Dispensary Initiative, as does our political organization, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, and our Oregon nonprofit corporation, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF, all have formally endorsed that, along with many other organizations. So we're happy to do that. You know, we had a caller, but we really don't have much more time to take a phone call right now. We're wrapping up the show, and I just want to thank all of you who've been watching us so long. I think tonight's show is number 542. That's it. I don't want to short us any. We've been on going on since 1997, and well, we're happy that you continue to watch us. You can go to our website there at hemp.org. We'll be back next week. We're on every week for the coming season, so stay tuned. Tune in next week, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tim Pate and help us restore hemp. Good night.